Horror remakes are always a gamble. Sometimes they introduce a fresh perspective, but more often than not, they misunderstand what made the original great in the first place. Whether it's removing the suspense, watering down the horror, or changing key elements that fans loved, these remakes failed to live up to expectations. Here are 10 of the worst horror remakes that disappointed both casual viewers and hardcore horror fans.
Damien! Look at me, Damien!
It's all for you!
The Omen, 2006. Fans of the original The Omen were frustrated by this remake's lack of originality. Rather than offering a new take, the 2006 version is a near shot-for-shot copy, making it feel redundant and unnecessary. While the original was a slow-burning psychological horror film with eerie performances and unsettling imagery, this remake relies too much on jump scares and uninspired direction. Even with actors like Liev Schreiber and Julia Stiles, the film lacks emotional weight, making it feel like a hollow retread rather than a chilling experience. Fans expected a deeper exploration of the Antichrist mythos, but instead, they got a lifeless remake that didn't justify its existence.
Let him kill me.
That's not my ringtone.
One Missed Call, 2008. J-horror fans were particularly disappointed with One Missed Call, as it took a genuinely creepy Japanese film and stripped it of all its atmosphere. The original Chakushinari, 2003, directed by Takashi Miike, had a surreal, eerie tone that left audiences unsettled. However, the Hollywood remake dumbs down the story, removes the haunting visuals, and replaces them with cheap jump scares and poor CGI effects. The original film had a sense of dread that built over time, while the remake rushes through its scares with little build-up. Fans of J-horror were hoping for something as terrifying as The Ring or The Grudge, but instead, they got one of the worst-rated horror remakes of the 2000s.
Mom? How will you get here? Who are you talking to?
Poltergeist, 2015. The original Poltergeist, 1982, directed by Tobe Hooper and influenced heavily by Steven Spielberg, was a masterclass in supernatural horror, blending family drama with truly terrifying moments. Fans loved how it used practical effects and carefully built suspense. The 2015 remake, however, felt like a soulless studio product that removed the charm and tension in favor of CGI-heavy spectacle. Instead of practical ghost effects, we get an overuse of computer-generated scares that lack the weight and realism of the original. The new version also rushes through the story without developing the characters, making it hard for audiences to care about the family's fate. Fans wanted a respectful update, but what they got was an uninspired rehash that failed to capture the original's emotional depth and genuine terror.
Afternoon.
Sorry about the...
It's okay. I'll get it.
The Wicker Man, 2006. When fans heard that The Wicker Man was being remade, there was cautious optimism. After all, the original was a slow-burning folk horror masterpiece with an unsettling atmosphere and shocking ending. However, the 2006 remake starring Nicolas Cage turned into an unintentional comedy rather than a chilling horror film. While the original thrived on psychological tension and religious themes, the remake removes all subtlety, replacing it with bizarre dialogue, over-the-top acting, and scenes so ridiculous they became memes, like the infamous "not the bees" moment.
What is that? What is that? What is it? Oh, no, not the bees! Not the bees! Ah!
Fans of the original wanted a disturbing, thought-provoking horror film, but instead, they got one of the most laughable remakes ever made.
Who's the Wicker Man?
Daddy.
When a mother has to speak the words that condemn her own son, but I couldn't allow them to think that I would commit murder.
Psycho, 1998. Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho is one of the most respected horror films of all time, so when a remake was announced, fans were skeptical. What they didn't expect was an almost identical shot-for-shot remake, which left audiences questioning why it even existed. Gus Van Sant's Psycho, 1998, is a near-perfect replica of the original, but without the artistry, tension, or purpose. Vince Vaughn was miscast as Norman Bates, lacking the eerie charm of Anthony Perkins. Even though it attempted to be a tribute to Hitchcock's masterpiece, fans saw it as an unnecessary, uninspired experiment that failed to bring anything new to the table.
People always mean well. They cluck their thick tongues, and they shake their heads, and they suggest, oh, so very delicately. To deserve this.
That matters little now.
Please.
The Fog, 2005. John Carpenter's The Fog, 1980, had a simple yet effective ghost story, filled with slow-building tension and an eerie atmosphere that stuck with audiences. Fans of the original loved its practical effects, haunting visuals, and the sense of dread that grew throughout the film. The 2005 remake, however, throws all of that out the window. Instead of an atmospheric horror film, it becomes a bland, CGI-laden mess that removes all mystery and replaces it with uninspired jump scares. The characters are forgettable, the suspense is non-existent, and the story is filled with unnecessary changes that weaken the overall narrative. Fans hoped for a remake that honored the eerie feel of the original, but instead they got a soulless rehash. Black Christmas, 2019. The original Black Christmas is considered one of the earliest slasher films, setting the template for movies like Halloween. What made it so effective was its disturbing ambiguity and unsettling villain. However, the 2019 remake completely changed the formula, turning it into a PG-13, supernatural-themed feminist horror movie that felt more like a political statement than a terrifying film. Fans didn't mind the feminist themes. In fact, the original film had them. But the execution in the remake was so heavy-handed that it overshadowed the horror elements. Instead of suspense, it was filled with on-the-nose dialogue and a supernatural twist that made no sense. Horror fans wanted a return to the chilling, stalker-based horror of the original, but instead, they got a movie that forgot to be scary.
Get the keys! Go! Go, 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 go!
A Nightmare on Elm Street, 2010. Few horror villains are as iconic as Freddy Krueger, and fans were excited to see a fresh take on A Nightmare on Elm Street. However, this 2010 remake missed the mark in nearly every way. Robert Englund's Freddy was terrifying, but also had a sinister charm, while Jackie Earle Haley's version lacked any personality, making him feel generic.
You don't remember. You're my number one.
The dream sequences, which were surreal and nightmarish in the original, became uninspired CGI effects. Fans were also frustrated by the film's lazy jump scares and lack of creativity, making it one of the most disappointing horror remakes of the decade.
Your dream. You smell different.
It must be the weed guy. Okay.
Help me! I'm burning. Help me.
Cabin Fever, 2016. The original Cabin Fever was a weird, gory, and darkly humorous horror film that built a cult following. Fans expected a new take, but instead, they got a nearly identical shot-for-shot remake that added nothing. The performances were weaker, the direction was uninspired, and there was no reason for this film to exist. Fans were confused as to why a movie barely over a decade old was being remade with no fresh ideas. The remake didn't just fail to improve on the original, it actively made it worse.
It's you!
Mr. Matheson?
What have you done? What did you do?
The Grudge 2020. Fans of Ju-on The Grudge and its 2004 American remake were expecting another eerie, slow-burning horror film with unsettling tension. Instead, The Grudge 2020 delivered a confusing, dull narrative with little to no scares. The non-linear storytelling was messy, the atmosphere was non-existent, and even talented actors like Andrea Riseborough and John Cho couldn't save the film. Fans were hoping for something as terrifying as the earlier versions, but instead, they got one of the most lifeless horror remakes ever made.
What's wrong?
We need to leave right now.
Each of these remakes failed horror fans by either misunderstanding what made the original special or by offering nothing new. Instead of revitalizing beloved horror films, they became forgettable, or worse, infamous for all the wrong reasons. Do you think any of these are salvageable? Or are they beyond redemption? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss an upload. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.